Welcome back, guys. Just so you know what's happening, etc., etc., etc. If you are if you're tuning into this, I'm going to read a lot. So the key to this is not getting caught up trying to, obviously you can listen to the whole thing all at once, but it's going to be like 40 minutes. So if you're worried about listening for it all, watch whatever you want on YouTube and then just slide off, and then you can come back to it later, and the next time you go into it as a clip, it'll carry on from where you are last time. So gonna do some Zero Story, and I might do 2 chapters, but the idea is that you can check in and out of it. Obviously I'd love if you just watched the whole thing, that'd be great, but you don't have to worry about it too much. You can come in and out of it. So I'll get going. Tom spent the rest of the day wandering around the mountainside, trying to avoid... Oopsie, let's make sure that I'm actually on the big screen. Is that big enough? Yeah, that's big enough. Trying to avoid another encounter with either man. Obviously, Tom is... Sorry, guys. Obviously, Tom is talking about Alex and Paul. Because Tom's just found out that Paul thinks that Tom might be the chosen one, the Messiah. Thinking about how out of control his life had become, his thoughts spiraled into disbelief, doubting their faith in him and fearing letting everybody down. Eventually, his thoughts drifted to Leaf. Tom laughed at the idea of her calling him the Messiah. She would know they had to be wrong. She'd be on his side. Trying to distance himself from the weight of being proclaimed the Saviour, Tom thought about the upcoming court case between his parents. The Ligero had told him he would save the world, and he wasn't even sure he would complete the training. If his mother won the custody, as the sun began to go down, Tom made his way back towards the clearing, praying Vanessa would be the only one still there. Peering out over the trees, he saw her sitting on a rock, absorbing the last of the day's light, and wondered if she was worried about him. Announcing his entry with a cough, Vanessa span towards him, I wondered when you would come back. Your dad will be home in a couple of hours. We'd best get back, Vanessa said with a smile, relief washing away her initial look of worry. I don't think you, said Tom, stumbling over his words, incapable of speaking before Vanessa interrupted him. I believe in you, Tom. But you don't need to agree with me just yet. I'm sorry you had to hear about the prophecy from Paul. He was worried about Alex's influence on you. As much as I like the guy, he's very black and white, and not great at letting people see things their own way. Tom shrugged off. That's supposed to say off her words. I need a break from this stuff. Can we pretend it didn't happen? I'll just ask you to tell me more when I'm ready. I'll be there when you need me. You might find that once you start to use the third form, things become more clear to you, said Vanessa, before turning towards the trail to the motorbike and yelled, "Let's go home." The ride home was long, and Tom found himself battling through the information, daydreaming about what he had learnt over the last few days. If someone told the 5-year-old version of him he was going to save the world and shoot lightning and fire from his hands, he would have jumped for joy. Why was he feeling so uneasy about people saying he was going to do that now? He thought he understood his role. He thought he understood the role of the Messiah, to rid the world of evil and use the energy gained from the evil people to recreate the world with the Glagero living and everybody in peace. At the heart of it, it was a good idea, but who was he to decide who was good and evil? Was he going to be able to get some divine power to read people's souls? Beyond that, what is evil? Other than the Equilibra and maybe Spike, he'd never known what evil people looked like. Paul and Vanessa had both said that he would learn through the third form. But how could a few thoughts and emotions from nature help him decide who was good and evil? Suddenly, the bike started to slow, and Tom shook himself out of his daydreams to see his family house rapidly approaching. Jumping from the slowing bike, Tom scurried towards the front door, secretly hoping to beat Vanessa to a warm shower. Just slide up pages. Reaching into his pocket for the key to the door suddenly burst open. "Good to see ya!" boomed his father's voice. "Come home early. Got old Brooker popping by in a tick. Looks like you've been hitting those weights," said his father, giving him a solid whack on the shoulder. "Jack, you're home early?" came an excited voice from behind him, and Tom turned to see Vanessa running towards his father. Tom squirmed at the sight of his father, and Vanessa pushed past them and made for the warm shower. Dialing the shower to 3/4, he began to throw off his clothes before a flashing mirror stopped Tom in his tracks. Just going to check on the stream. So he's just seen a flash in the mirror. One person there. Cool. Slowing down, he turned and looked at himself properly. Before Vanessa, he was sickly looking. Before his father had left, he had a wiry body of a teenage boy, and now he was an athlete. Every muscle was defined, not yet oversized. Every muscle was defined, yet not oversized, and his skin was glowing, just like Vanessa's. Tom stopped and looked at himself for a while. So that's in a matter of 2 days, guys. Those 2 days of training, and his body has changed. I'll jump back into the story. Stopped and looked at himself for a while. Finding it difficult to see his original body shape, he came to the conclusion he needed to start hiding his physical development. Jumping into the shower, Tom shivered at the thought of people getting suspicious and unwanted attention that came with it. He needed to come up with a cover story, and quickly. Perhaps Vanessa's training him in martial arts or something. Before he knew it, Tom was out of the shower, changed, and on the phone texting Leaf, arranging for a meeting at school, and laughing at her recount of the shopping with his mother. The idea of seeing Leaf again was enough to make him smile, and he couldn't wait to show her some of his new moves. Bouncing out of the room, Tom made for the kitchen, smiling from ear to ear and whistling to himself. Pushing through the kitchen door, his whistling stopped dead as his eyes settled on the slim Terry Brooker sitting at the table, talking to his father. "Hi there, Tom. You certainly look better than last time I saw you. I was just telling your father about our last meeting, said Brooker, with a sleazy smile. Oh, the one where you insulted my mother and got kicked out of the hospital by Vanessa, replied Tom, causing Terry's face to turn a bright red. Well, it wasn't quite like that. I just recounted your mother's behaviour. Her mood seemed erratic. Not suitable for a person to raise a child, said Brooker. It's amazing it's amazing how you seem to think you know her when you have only managed a few minutes with her before you were asked to leave, replied Tom, as he walked over to the table and stood looking down on the slim man. Nobody calls my mum crazy. Hi there, Vanessa interrupted in a chirpy tone, and she entered the room, flicking her hair from one side to the other. She looked at Tom and said, Are you okay? Tom quickly nodded and his reply and sneered at Brooker, trying to communicate his hatred of the man. Vanessa, taking his cue, dismissed Tom with a wave and said, I'll tell your father about Brooker. Brooker's hospital mate. Go chill out in the lounge. There's football on TV. Tom stood smiling at Vanessa and began to make his way to the door. I'm sorry, Vanessa, but Tom is needed to talk with me a little bit. We need to organise a statement, said Brooker, as he shook himself out of a beauty-induced daze. Tom looked back at Vanessa, who offered a shrug, and any hope he was getting away without talking to Brooker was gone. I'm going to ask you some questions. All you need to do is answer them to the best of your ability. Because of your age, it is very unlikely you will be put in front of the jury. I'll record your answers and have my secretary write them up. They will be used to represent you in court on Thursday, said Brooker, putting his phone down on the table and pressing record. Tom flopped back in the seat and prepared for the questions, almost certain Brooker would try to make his mother look bad. When did you first start feeling sick? Asked Brooker in a clear monotone. I'm not sick. I feel fine, said Tom, trying not to give anything away, even though he knew Brooker was talking about the years before Vanessa. Okay. Okay. Your father says you started to lose weight around 2 years back. Can you tell me why? Asked Brooker, trying another tack. I don't know why. I was just always hungry. I felt like I couldn't eat. I could eat all day and still be hungry, replied Tom. So would you say anything is different now? Tom smiled at how obvious Brooker's question was. He was trying to trick Tom into saying something stupid about his food intake, and Tom wasn't going to bite. I'm eating more or less the same. Now. The difference is Vanessa's naturopath medicine supplements what I eat. Could you tell me, did you ever visit a naturopath with your mum? Asked Brooker, before his father interrupted. Bloody hell, man. Just get to the point. Boy, do you want to leave, Christoph? Because your mum's gonna head for Eastchurch if she gets full custody. Tom looked at Brooker, who smiled and said, By law, you need to be completely honest. Taking a deep breath, he thought about how to avoid the question, eventually giving up, blurting out his best attempt at the truth. I don't want to, and blurting out his best attempt at the truth. I don't want to lose my mum, but Dad and Vanessa are important to me as well. I like having them all around. Said Brooker, rubbing his chin, thinking something through. I wasn't going to go in this direction, but it seems unavoidable. Your mother's lawyer will argue that your father is only home in the weekend and Vanessa is really your primary carer. How do you feel about that argument? Vanessa is a nice person, the nicest person I've ever met, said Tom, adding, she understands I still need my mum, and though Mum might hate to say it, they work pretty well together. When Dad isn't about, Mum and Vanessa share custody. That's what I want. I want to see Mum, Vanessa, and Dad. Brooker lit up with a smile, his unnatural white teeth almost blinding Tom. So if it was only about what's best for you and what you want, would you stay here? I don't really think it matters what I want. It can't happen. Mum needs work and Dad won't move. So here we are, said Tom, trying to lead the questions away from blaming his mum. Tom, you didn't really answer the question. I'm not asking you what you think is the problem. I'm asking what you want, said Brooker, clearly starting to get frustrated with Tom's ability to avoid the question. Of course I don't want to leave home. I just want my parents to talk to each other and sort something out. But most of all, I want to stop asking these stupid questions, said Tom, looking Brooker straight in the eye. Well, I think I've got enough information, said Brooker, meeting Tom's eyes with a smirk. Next time I see you, I'll be telling you how much time you get to spend with your mother. Don't expect much, though. Unfortunately, her lawyer is a fool. Tom jumped to his feet, fist clenched, ready to rip Brooker's head off, when Vanessa put her hand on his shoulder. Go watch football, Tom. We'll finish up with Mr. Brooker. Feeling her calm energy behind him, Tom knew she was worried he wouldn't expose. Tom knew she was worried he would expose his abilities, and he snapped his anger with a fake smile. Unfortunately, most lawyers seem to be fools, said Tom before making for the door. Chapter 27. Let's see if there's anybody on the live stream. No one's on the live stream. The rest of the night was uneventful, and Tom walked through the gates of St. Margaret's School. St. Mark's School. He thought of and when Tom walked through the gates of St. Mark's School, he thought of the looming court case. Soon he would know where he was going to spend the rest of his youth, and who he was going to live with. Tom! Tom! Came Leif's voice from across the quad, and he shook himself out of his daydream. I just had a run-in with Spike's friends. Nobody's seen him all week. They say he's run away from home. Suddenly, engulfed in a huge hug, Tom started to process what she had said. What do you mean no one's seen him? Asked Tom, holding still holding Leif close. He never went home. Apparently, the police have been talking to his school friends. They might even ask to talk to you today, said Leif, her voice breaking as she was fighting back tears. Tom looked down at Leif, buried in his school jacket, and tightened his embrace, unsure of why she was so emotional. Nobody's seen him. I'm going to change this in weeks. So Tom's unsure of why she's so emotional. Came a noise from behind him, followed by a sharp poke to the ribs. Get off the girl, Cadbury. This is school, not some nightclub. Tom spun around, his face red, to see Mr. Decker spinning a thin black cane in his hand. We weren't doing anything. Just saying hi, said Tom, trying not to look too embarrassed. Well, let it be known, I never wanted to say hi. Well, let it be known, I never want you to say hi to me, Mr. Cadbury, said Decker, his using finger quotes to make it a joke. Now, move on. Oh, and Cadbury, expect to hear from the police in regards to Spike's disappearance. They have been asking for your contact details. No doubt you would have heard he's missing. Yeah, I heard he's missing. Not sure what I can tell them, but they can ask, said Tom, as he turned away from Decker and started following Leif to the science block. Once they were safely out of Decker's sight, Leif started grinning, eventually the grin building into a full smile. Then, when a hint of laughter started to burst through Leif's smile, Tom stopped dead in his tracks and asked, "What's so funny? What's happening with you today?" Leif turned, and Tom could see a subtle tear strain under her eyes, and knew the laughter was masking something. "You always look so guilty when we get caught together," she scowled, turning back towards the science block, yelling over her shoulder. "I swear, if I was Mr. Decker, I'd have thought he was interrupting something really intense." Tom chased after her, bursting through the science block door where she was waiting. "It was just a hug, Tom. Friends hug. Friends hug each other all the time. You know, we can't be anything more than that. You know we can't be anything more than that." Tom's heart sank, and he wondered why Leif was trying to say that. Wondered what Leif was trying to say. Still stunned by her words, Tom tried to shake himself out of his imminent gloom by putting on a fake accent and pointing to the door of the science block toilet, saying, "After you, madame." Leif slipped through the door, and Tom happy facade faded. A facade is, guys, sorry, I'm taking a break from the story. A facade is like a fake feeling or thing that you put out to the world, you know? So Tom's happy facade faded as he waited for a signal from the other side. Before long, there were 3 taps on the door interrupted Tom's mood. and he quickly checked the corridor and slipped through the bathroom door. Tom's eyes immediately settled on the large red blanket Leaf had placed in the middle of the floor and smiled in her direction. The smell of cleaning products, tainted by a subtle odour of compost, hit him, and he waved his hands in front of his nose. I finally get why the girls avoid this place. Dismissing his comments with a thin smile, Leaf looked him up and down, bewildered, before finally blurting out, I can't believe how much you've changed in just a few days. What happened? From there, Tom told Leaf about his weekend. He told her about the spiritual firebomb, learning how to use hydro, and the way Vanessa had made it seem like the Equilibra had caught her, and how it had all turned out to be a test. Leaf stared at him, taking everything in with a measured look. You're doing it again. You're not telling me something. I can't imagine you going through all this and just smiling and laughing with Vanessa. How does she still have you on her side? Tom went red and then looked across at Leaf, admiring how she had read through the situation. It's complicated, but you know how I told you about the two other guys posing as Equilibrium? One of them is our high-ranked officer, and he insists that he insisted that I was tested by Vanessa. I was tested after Vanessa told him how fast I was learning, said Tom, trying not to look Leaf in the eyes. I know you're learning fast, but what does that matter? Why do they care? Asked Leaf, her mood flipping from sadness to intrigue. Tom smiled at her as his voice started to tighten. Well, it's kind of strange, but the Ligero believe I might be very important for the future. They think I might be some kind of messiah in the war, and yelled Leaf, bursting into laughter and interrupting Tom. So they think you're going to save the world or something? Don't you think that's stupid? You're just a kid, said Leaf with a laugh. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, he replied, as Leaf's statement caused him a wave of relief to wash over him. I'm pretty sure if I was the Messiah, I would know. I'm not going to save the world. I'm way too normal, Tom added, laughing at the idea of being considered normal. Added Tom, laughing at the idea of being considered normal. The conversation meandered on, and Leaf reluctantly played the part, offering quips about how much he would have to about how much he was changing, and calling him the clueless Messiah. Eventually, after Tom was sick of hearing himself talk, Leaf finally moved the topic away from Tom's weekend. Do you want to know something else that's not normal? Said Leaf, flicking her hair to one side and baiting Tom into the conversation. Leaf's hands lightly touched his arm, causing Tom's heart to start racing as she moved closer and closer. Tom closed his eyes. His lips felt dry and his face turned bright red. Leaf was so close he could hear her breath. Her lips lightly touched his nose, but passed towards his ear. Then she whispered, "The way you and your mother both go bright red when you're around someone they're into." Tom fell backwards on the blanket, bursting into a nervous fit of laughter as Leif overbalanced and came toppling down on top of him. Tom's heart was racing, and his brain felt foggy. All he could think of was kissing Leif. She was still laughing, squirming on the floor next to him, when he put his hand on the small of her back and pulled her close. Leif, I really like... Leif put her hand across Tom's mouth, stopping his words, and said, "Me first." As the tears welled up in her eyes, "On Saturday, when me and your mother went clothes shopping, we ran into Benson." Leif paused, and Tom nodded as he followed. "So far, your mum and Benson started to chat, and it was hilarious to watch. Your mum was going bright red, and Benson was getting quite friendly." At the end of their little encounter, Benson asked about going out with her at some point. She took his number and told him she'd probably be leaving town, so it wasn't really likely to happen. Leif looked at him, unable to hold the tears back. "Why didn't you tell me you might be leaving?" Tom took a deep breath, now realizing why Leif seemed to be so up and down today. "I don't know why I didn't tell you. Maybe I was scared. I don't want to go, but my mum has nobody. If I told her, it would break her heart," said Tom, as Leif's tears started to build. Pulling her closely, he whispered, "Vanessa said it won't happen anyway. The court has already sided with Dad once, and now he has a fancy lawyer from Eastchurch. They say he never loses. I'm not going anywhere." Leif looked at Tom, saying, I don't have anyone either. If you leave, I'll be alone again." Tom wiped the tears away from her red eyes and kissed her lightly on the forehead. "It won't happen. You don't need to worry," said Tom, trying to convince himself it was true. A couple of chapters that were less intense there. Bit of story development chapters. So what has happened? We saw Tom come back from his training weekend, meet with the lawyer, and we found out that Spike's missing. So a few things.